There is a hum beneath your thoughts, softer than breath, older than time. It is not made of sound, yet it sings. It does not move, yet it carries you. It is not loud, but it is eternal. This is your vibration. It is the language of your soul, the echo of your essence, the silent music that speaks directly to the divine. Long before you spoke your first word, you were already communicating with the infinite through the frequency of your being. Your vibration is your truth, not the truth you perform, not the truth you shape for the world to accept, but the truth that rises when everything else is still. It is the honest tone of your presence. It is the energy that surrounds you when you enter a room. It is what people feel from you when you say nothing at all. This vibration does not lie. It is beyond words, beyond image, beyond the mask. It cannot be faked, for it is shaped not by what you do, but by who you are. And who you are is divine. There is a still place in you that has never been afraid, never been hurt, never been broken. This place has no memory, no desire, no agenda. It is pure being. And it is from this well that your truest vibration emerges. When you align with that stillness, your frequency becomes the language of God. You no longer speak to the universe in pleas or demands. You speak in vibration, in presence, in truth, in alignment, and the universe answers, always. Not because it is listening to your words, but because it is feeling your vibration. Your life is not a series of random events. It is a mirror, a reflection, a perfect echo of your inner state. What you hold within is what you live without. And so, when you carry shame, the world responds with judgment. When you carry fear, the world becomes threatening. But when you vibrate with love, the world softens. It bends to meet you. It responds not to your desire, but to your frequency. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And so, the path is not to chase the life you long for, but to become the vibration that matches it. When you embody peace, peace finds you. When you radiate abundance, doors open. When you align with love, love flows freely. The vibration comes first. The experience follows. But the ego resists this. The ego wants to force, to strive, to manipulate. It says, I will be peaceful when life calms down. I will be loving when I am loved. I will be whole when I am healed. But the soul whispers a different truth. Be peaceful and life will calm. Be loving and you will feel love. Be whole now and healing will arise from within. You see, the soul does not wait. It does not bargain. It does not live conditionally. It knows only one way of being true. And truth vibrates higher than any strategy, any effort, any persona. When you let go of what you are not, your vibration rises naturally. You do not need to add anything to yourself. You only need to remove the masks, the stories, the noise. What remains is pure frequency, and that frequency is love. This is why silence heals. This is why stillness awakens. Because in the quiet, your truest vibration is no longer drowned by thought. It rises, it expands, it speaks. The divine does not live in words, it lives in resonance. And when you enter resonance with your own soul, you enter resonance with God. This is not religion. This is not belief. This is being. This is frequency. This is truth vibrating as you. Do not ask the world to validate you. Ask your soul, is this who I am? When the answer is yes, your vibration becomes clear. And in that clarity, the universe rearranges itself to support you. You are never being punished. You are always being mirrored. What you call rejection may be protection. What you call delay may be divine alignment. What you call failure may be the hand of the infinite lifting you out of frequency that no longer serves your becoming. Every experience is feedback. Every relationship is a reflection. Every moment is an invitation to tune your vibration closer to the divine within you. And what is this divine? It is not separate. It is not elsewhere. It is not outside. It is the silent current moving through your breath, the still voice beneath your fears, the open space behind your eyes. It is the you that watches you, the witness, the awareness, the presence. You are that presence. You are not the roles you play. You are not your thoughts. You are not your history. You are the field in which all those things appear and disappear. And when you identify with that field, you vibrate differently. You no longer seek to be seen. You begin to see. You no longer need to be heard. You begin to hear. You no longer crave attention. You begin to attend to what matters. This is the power of vibration. It is the difference between force and flow, between pretending and presence, between chasing and allowing. You were not born to strive endlessly for what is already yours. You were born to remember that your frequency is your magnetism, that your alignment is your power, that your vibration is your sacred signature in the field of all things. So breathe. Let go of the tension that says you must prove your worth. Let go of the belief that your value is earned. Let go of the illusion that your identity is in what you do. And return. Return to the silent center within you. Return to the gentle hum of being. Return to the vibration of truth. Because when you are in truth, you are in God. When you are in alignment, you are in communion. When you are in love, not the feeling, but the frequency, you are home. The world does not need more noise. It needs more presence. And your greatest offering is not your opinion, your accomplishments, or your perfection. It is your vibration when it is rooted in love, honesty, and peace. Let this be your prayer, not spoken but lived. May I vibrate with the frequency of my soul. May I release what is false. May I allow what is true. May I remember who I am, and in that remembrance, may I be a blessing to the world, not by trying, but by being. Your vibration is your communication with the divine. It always has been. And now, may you listen. And so we continue, not by moving forward, but by moving inward, deeper still, into the heart of remembrance. For the soul does not rush. It does not strive towards some distant peak. It unfolds like dawn, slowly dissolving the darkness, not with effort, but with light. And this light is your essence, unhurried, unforced, undeniable. You do not ascend to higher realms by climbing, but by releasing. The ladder is not up, it is down, inward, through the layers of identity you've accumulated and you're forgetting. Each step is a surrender, each moment of stillness is a doorway, each breath is a key. There is a vastness within you, untouched by fear, unmarred by time. It has never known insecurity, never doubted its worth, never asked the world for permission to exist. This is your eternal nature. It doesn't seek to become, it simply is. And when you tune to this, your vibration becomes not something to achieve, but something to allow. To vibrate at the level of spirit is not to escape the human, but to infuse it with the sacred. It is to walk barefoot on this earth and feel the sky move through your chest. It is to meet the mundane with holy awareness, to pour presence into the overlooked, to remember that every leaf, every tear, every gesture is God revealing itself in form. You are not here to perform your way to enlightenment. You are here to shed the layers until only light remains. And that shedding is not violent. It is gentle. It is the undoing of effort, the untying of the knot. It is the way a flower opens not by demand, but by being warmed from within. What raises your vibration is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, sacred, subtle. It is the choice to forgive instead of resent, to listen instead of react, to soften instead of defend. These moments, small, tender, almost invisible, are seismic in the realm of spirit. Because every time you choose love over fear, your entire being shifts closer to truth. Do not ask how to reach the divine. Ask where you have been resisting its presence. For the divine is not a distant star. It is the warmth behind your chest. It is the silence that holds your thoughts. It is the formless awareness gazing through your eyes, waiting patiently for you to see from it rather than toward it. You are not seeking connection. You are remembering oneness. You are not building a bridge to God. You are dissolving the illusion that one was ever needed. The vibration of separation is heavy. It is the frequency of fear, of shame, of striving. But the vibration of unity is weightless. It is the frequency of grace. It lifts you not because you have achieved it, but because you have ceased to deny it. And so we are invited not to do more, but to be more present, to sit in the sacredness of this moment and feel its fullness, to recognize that now is not a stepping stone, it is the destination. Every breath is the divine visiting you. Every heartbeat is the infinite reminding you, I am here, I am you. In this space, the heart becomes the compass. Not the organ that pumps, but the seat of knowing, the temple of intuition, the sanctuary of truth. The heart does not argue. It does not analyze. It speaks through vibration. It says yes with warmth, no with tightness. It guides not with maps, but with feeling. Trust it. And your path will open like petals to the Sunday. You are not here to be understood by the mind of the world. You are here to resonate with the rhythm of eternity. And that resonance may not make sense. It may not be logical. It may not be applauded. But it will be true. And truth has a frequency that nothing false can imitate. This is the freedom your soul longs for. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be exactly who you are. The permission to drop the act. To walk unarmored. To vibrate not from the mass, but from the soul. There is no courage greater than this. To live in resonance with your being is to become a living prayer. Not a recitation, not a doctrine, but a frequency of remembrance. A lighthouse for other souls who have forgotten the way home. And the beauty is, you do not need to preach. You do not need to convince. You do not need to change the world. You only need to be fully here. Rooted, radiant, real. Because your vibration speaks louder than anything you could ever say. And when it aligns with love, with peace, with truth, the entire universe listens. And it sings with you. There is a rhythm that underlies all of life. It is not fast. It is not frantic. It does not answer to the clock or the calendar. It moves like a tide, eternal, unfaltering, sacred. And when you slow down enough to match this rhythm, your whole existence becomes music. Not the kind you hear, but the kind you become. A vibration so pure, so resonant, that it dissolves every illusion of separation. We have been conditioned to hurry, to fix, to prove, to race toward a horizon that always recedes. But the soul is not in the race. The soul is in the pause, in the exhale. In the space between the doing, where presence hums quietly, like a secret you once knew but forgot how to hear. To return to your natural vibration is to return to this sacred pace. It is to remember that you are not here to catch up. You are here to wake up. Wake up to the moment, to the now, to the vast field of being in which everything you've been chasing already exists. The mind will resist this. It has been trained in the language of urgency. It believes that stillness is laziness, that gentleness is weakness, that ease is earned only after exhaustion. But the soul knows a deeper truth, that your worth is not found at the end of striving, but in the center of surrender. This surrender is not defeat. It is the return of alignment. It is the releasing of the false self, the constructed self, the defended self. And what emerges in its place is your original vibration, the sound of your being, before the world taught you how to edit it. When you live from this vibration, you no longer react, you respond. You no longer push, you allow. You no longer grasp, you trust. This is not passivity. It is power in its most refined form. The power that moves mountains not by shouting at them, but by dissolving the illusion that they are in the way. For in truth, nothing is in the way. Not your pain, not your past, not your uncertainty. These are not blocks, they are invitations. Each one a teacher, each one a mirror, each one a vibrational whisper saying, come home, come deeper, come truer. And so you begin to walk differently. Not faster, but lighter. Not with urgency, but with presence. Your steps are guided not by a map, but by resonance. You no longer seek signs, you are the sign. You no longer wait for miracles, you realize your very breath is a miracle. Your every word, when spoken from this depth, becomes an extension of the divine. And what does this depth ask of you? Only everything that is false. Only the layers that weigh you down and dull your frequency. Only the need to be anything other than what you already are. The divine does not need your performance. It needs your presence. It needs the unfiltered you, the trembling you, the brave you who stands in the truth of your being, even when your voice shakes. Because it is in that rawness, in that honest, vulnerable vibration that the infinite can finally reach through and touch the world as you. And when you allow that, when you surrender to being a vessel instead of a persona, the sacred begins to orchestrate your life with such precision, such grace, that it takes your breath away. People arrive not by accident, but by resonance. Opportunities come not through effort, but through alignment. The path unfolds not by calculation, but by surrender. This is the art of vibrating with the divine. You stop asking, what do I need to do? And you begin asking, what do I need to be? And the answer is always, be what you truly are. Not what the world molded you into, not what your wounds have convinced you to become, but what you were before the fear, before the roles, before the stories. The vibration of that version of you is pure freedom. Not the freedom to escape life, but the freedom to embody it fully, to drink from it, to dance with it, to hurt and heal and weep and laugh with the kind of openness that only the soul remembers. You do not need to rise above your humanity to touch the divine. You need only to fall so deeply into the truth of your being that the divine rises through you. And in that rising, your vibration changes the room before you even speak. It calms the storm without raising your voice. It heals not by fixing, but by holding. It blesses not by preaching, but by being. You are not here to be impressive. You are here to be a lighthouse, a frequency, a reminder. You are the vibration of truth walking in a world that has forgotten its own sound. And the more you remember, the more you invite others to do the same, not with force, but with your very presence. This is how you communicate with the divine, not with your words, not with your plans, but with the frequency of your soul. Live fully, breathe deeply, and offered without resistance. So stay with me. We are just beginning to remember what you've always been. And now the quiet expands, like dawn stretching its golden fingers across the sky of your inner world. In this sacred stillness, where nothing is asked of you, where no mask is needed, something profound begins to happen. Your awareness softens, not into confusion, but into clarity, not into detachment, but into union. This is the soft gaze of the soul, seeing not through the eyes of judgment, but through the eyes of knowing. You begin to see your life not as a sequence of tasks or trials, but as a vibration in motion. Every encounter becomes a reflection of your inner song. Every challenge, an invitation to refine your resonance. And suddenly, life is not something to overcome, it is something to tune into. Like a sacred frequency that, once heard, makes the chaos seem almost orchestral. There is nothing random in a universe built of energy. There is nothing meaningless in a reality where every thought becomes form. When you vibrate from authenticity, you no longer have to convince life to bless you. It cannot help but do so. Blessings are not earned through strain. They arrive as harmonies when your inner note is played true. But this requires a radical shift, not in your outer world, but in how you meet it. You begin to meet life not with defense, but with reverence. You see every situation as alive with spirit. Every person is a mirror of some part of yourself that longs to be seen, loved, or released. Even discomfort becomes sacred because you have stopped resisting the teacher it carries within. To vibrate in alignment is to trust without needing proof, to offer your presence without needing to be received, to move through the world like water, not because you are soft, but because you are surrendered. You no longer grip the outcome. You no longer chase the validation. You become a stream flowing from the source through the moment and back again. You will find that as your vibration rises, your need for explanation dissolves. The more attuned you are, the less you explain, and the more you emanate. Your life becomes your message. Your stillness becomes your strength. People may ask what changed in you, but they won't always have the words. They'll just feel it. A peace that needs no defense. A joy that isn't trying to be joy. A truth that doesn't need a pulpit. This is the beauty of energy. It cannot be faked. It either resonates or it doesn't. And so your task is not to convince the world of your light. It is to let it shine without apology. Not as a performance, but as a state of being. A frequency of remembering that pulses through you until there is no longer a difference between who you are and what you radiate. Even your silence becomes powerful when it is rooted in truth. It no longer feels like absence. It feels like depth. A presence too full to speak, yet too generous to be missed. And it draws others not because it tries, but because it is real. That's what all beings are seeking beneath their masks, something real enough to awaken their own. The more you release the need to be understood, the more you begin to truly understand. You no longer need agreement to feel peace. You no longer need certainty to feel safe. You realize that what you are flows far deeper than what you can ever explain. And here, something miraculous, unfolds, you stop fearing change, because you've come to see that change is not disruption, but refinement, not destruction, but alignment. Everything that leaves, everything that falls away, is simply no longer vibrating with who you've become. You don't mourn the fallen leaves when autumn arrives. You trust the cycle. You trust the letting go. And so you begin to do the same with your own becoming. With each inner death, a more radiant truth is born. Letting go becomes an act of love, not a loss, but a return, a homecoming to the clearest version of your frequency. You drop the habits, the identities, the attachments, not because you're giving up, but because you're rising. Rising not above the world, but into it, into your body, into your life, into the present where the divine is always waited, patiently humming your name in a vibration you could only hear when you finally became quiet enough to listen. You are listening now, so breathe. Stay with this silence. It is not emptiness. It is the fullness of your soul, remembered at last. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to meet it from your center, anchored, spacious, unshaken. Not because the world is gentle, but because your vibration no longer depends on its storms. You begin to realize that true power is not in how loudly you speak, but in how deeply you live. How consistently you remain in truth when everything around you tempts you to perform, to defend, to forget. This is the quiet revolution of the awakened soul. It does not wave flags or claim territory. It simply becomes a sanctuary, a living refuge. Others feel it and do not know why they soften in your presence, why they feel seen without being scrutinized, why they feel safe without needing to explain themselves. You are no longer a personality. They are encountering presence. And presence heals. Your vibration becomes medicine the moment you stop trying to be the healer, the moment you release the need to fix and remember instead how to feel. Feel everything, not just the light, but the shadow, not just the beauty, but the grief. Because every feeling allowed fully becomes sacred. Every emotion, honored without judgment, becomes a song that purifies the soul. And here is the paradox: the more you allow what is, the higher your vibration becomes. Not because you are achieving purity, but because you are no longer resisting your humanity. You are no longer splitting yourself into sacred and profane, light and dark, worthy and unworthy. You are remembering that the divine does not come to you despite your imperfections. It comes to you through them. The wound is not the absence of God. It is the place where God waits patiently for your return. So do not rush your healing. Do not try to bypass the ache in search of the bliss. Bliss will come, but only after you have become spacious enough to hold both the joy and the sorrow in equal reverence. The flower blooms because it first surrendered to the soil. And so surrender, not as a giving up, but as a rising in truth. Surrender the image. Surrender the need to be understood. Surrender the fear that you are somehow falling behind in a race that does not exist. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where the unfolding needs you to be. Every delay is a devotion. Every detour is a design. Nothing is wasted when your life is seen through the lens of vibration. Even your silence is working on your behalf when it is rooted in inner truth. Even your stillness is a prayer when it is held with intention. You do not need to be seen to be significant. The soul does not crave attention, it longs for alignment. And alignment is quiet. It arrives like breath, subtle, unnoticed by the mind, but undeniable to the heart. When you are aligned, there is no confusion about your path, even if the road ahead remains unmarked, because your steps are not guided by maps, they are guided by resonance. You start to feel it in your body, in the way certain spaces contract your chest and others expand it, in the way certain people pull you into performance while others call you back to present. You no longer weigh options by logic alone. You listen to the sound your soul makes in each situation, and the soul always knows, not with answers, but with peace. Peace is the confirmation. Peace is the compass. It doesn't shout, but it does not lie. When you follow that peace, when you move toward what brings calm to your nervous system, what brings quiet to your mind, what brings breath to your heart, you are following your highest vibration. And when you follow that, you don't just find your path, you become it. Let this be your revolution, not in doing more, not in achieving louder, but in vibrating deeper. Let your life hum with the frequency of your truth so clearly that everything unlike it falls away not from rejection, but from natural dissonance. You no longer need to fight your way forward. You need only to stand still, deeply rooted in what is real, and allow life to find its way to you. Because when you become resonance, all that belongs to you begins to recognize your sound. And it comes without force, without doubt, without delay. It comes because you are finally ready to receive, not with your hands, but with your being. And that is the purest vibration of all. And now, beloved soul, we arrive not at an ending, but at a soft landing, where your awareness settles not in the mind's conclusions, but in the heart's knowing. The journey was never outward. It was a deep, spiraling return to presence, to essence, to the sacred pulse of your own being. You are no longer reaching. You are resonating. No longer waiting for the divine to show itself in thunder or fire, but feeling it arrive as stillness in your breath, as peace that asks for nothing. You have become a vessel not of achievement, but of remembering. And what you have remembered is this: you are already the light. You are already the prayer. You are already the vibration that speaks most fluently to the infinite, not in the language of effort, but in the poetry of alignment. The need to prove has dissolved. The grasping has softened. What remains is what was always here, your frequency, uncloaked and unforced, humming with the sacred simplicity of truth. You are no longer a seeker. You are an instrument tuned to the divine, vibrating with quiet assurance that nothing was ever missing. This is what it means to be in harmony, not to be perfect, not to be untouched by pain, but to be so deeply rooted in the truth of who you are that no storm can distort your signal. Even when the winds rise, you do not falter, you vibrate. Even when the night is long, you do not forget, you remain. Because your essence is not a flicker, it is a flame, lit from within, fed not by the world, but by the source that births stars and oceans and the breath you are taking now. You are not an accident of dust, you are a declaration of light. And every moment you live in alignment with that knowing, you amplify the frequency of healing in this world. Others will feel you, even before they see you. They will sense something quiet but clear, something strong without hardness, something gentle but immovable. They will feel your peace and wonder where you found it. And though you may offer words, they will understand more from your presence than your answers. You will walk into rooms and lift them, not because you are trying, but because you are being. And this being is your greatest service. Not your status, not your image, just the unshakable truth of a soul that vibrates in harmony with love itself. Let this be your life now, not a pursuit, but a presence. Not a performance, but a frequency. Let your every breath be a blessing, your every silence a sanctuary, your every step a ripple in the sacred field that connects all things. You do not need to do more. You need only to be as you are, with nothing withheld, nothing forced. That vibration, sustained in honesty, in openness, in surrender, that is your deepest communication with the divine. You do not have to speak to be heard. You do not have to seek to be found. You do not have to ascend to be holy. You only have to remember and resonate, because in the end, it is not your words, your plans, or even your prayers that shape your destiny. It is your vibration. And your vibration, beloved soul, when aligned with truth, becomes the voice of the universe whispering through you. I am here. I am home. I am free. And so it is. There is a soft, ancient voice that echoes in the quiet of your soul, a voice that cannot be drowned out by the noise of the world, no matter how loud the world becomes. It whispers not in words, but in knowing. It does not plead for attention, nor does it seek to be proven. It simply is. And it has been with you since the beginning, since before your first breath, before your name was spoken, before you ever learned to question your worth. That voice, beloved, is your essence. And it has only one message to offer. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not to become, not to earn, not to strive, but to remember. For what you have forgotten is not something outside of you, waiting to be discovered like treasure buried beneath the sands of time. What you have forgotten is the sacred truth etched into the fabric of your very being that you are divine, not in theory, not in metaphor, but in the deepest, most literal sense. You are the breath of the infinite, poured into form, moving through time only to find your way back to timelessness. The world did not teach you this. The world taught you to forget. It taught you that your value is contingent, that your worth is conditional, that who you are must be proven by what you achieve, by how you look, by how others respond to your presence. It taught you that love must be earned, that joy is the result of success, that peace is something you find when everything finally aligns. But these teachings are not truths, they are illusions passed down through generations of forgetfulness. And now, in this sacred moment, you are being called to remember that you are not your name nor your story. You are not your pain nor your past. You are not your successes nor your failures. These are garments the soul wears for a while, but they are not the soul. The soul is unclothed, unbound, untouched. It is the eternal presence behind the mask, the stillness behind the movement, the awareness behind the thought. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices the thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the space in which those emotions arise and dissolve. You are not even your body, as miraculous and sacred as it is. You are the light that animates it, the silent observer that witnesses its birth, its aging, its breath, and one day, its final exhale. And in that light, there is no fear. In that light, there is no striving. In that light, there is only being. You were not born to perform, you were born to remember. The lilies of the field do not stress their blossoming. The rivers do not struggle to flow. The stars do not try to shine. They simply are, aligned with their nature, obedient to the intelligence that breathed them into being. And so are you until you were told otherwise. But nothing real can be forgotten forever. The truth, like a seed planted in the dark soil of your being, will always push toward the light, even when you cover it with fear, even when you drown it in doubt, even when you deny its presence. It will rise, quietly, gently, powerfully. It will rise, and it is rising in you now. You may feel it as restlessness, as a yearning you cannot name, as a longing that no accomplishment or affection can satisfy. You may feel it as the quiet ache at the center of your joy, or the mysterious calm in the middle of your sorrow. It is the call of the soul, the invitation to wake up, not to a new reality, but to the one that has always been. You have never been disconnected from source, only unaware. You have never been less than divine, only distracted. You have never lost your way, only walked in circles, mistaking movement for progress. And now the invitation is to be still, to stop the seeking, to cease the striving, to rest in the presence of what is already whole, the presence that you are. Because in that stillness, remembrance arises. And in remembrance, healing begins. Healing is not something you find. It is something you uncover. It is what remains when you stop identifying with the wound. It is the recognition that you were never broken, only covered in the dust of forgetfulness. The soul is unbreakable. It cannot be damaged. It can only be hidden. And so this is not the beginning of your journey. It is the ending of your amnesia, the end of the trance, the dissolving of the illusion. You are not here to become more. You are here to become less attached, less afraid, less identified with the false. And in becoming less, you become vast, like the sky shedding its clouds, like the ocean settling after the storm, like the sun emerging from behind the veil. You remember, not with your mind, but with your being, not as a concept, but as a communion. You remember the feel of oneness, the flavor of silence, the perfume of the present moment. And in that remembering, you are free. Free from the tyranny of needing to prove yourself. Free from the addiction to approval. Free from the story that says you must do more to be worthy. You are already worthy, infinitely so. Your very existence is the evidence. The universe does not create mistakes. It does not make spare parts. It does not breathe life into something without purpose. You were spoken into being by a voice that knows only love. You were carved from the same light that formed galaxies, shaped oceans, and painted the wings of butterflies. And in you, all of creation meets. You are not a part of the universe, you are the universe, experiencing itself in form. You are the wave, forgetting that it is the ocean. You are the flame, forgetting that it is the fire. You are the song, forgetting that it is the music. But forgetfulness is not failure. It is the path. The forgetting is sacred. It is what makes the remembering so powerful. It is what turns the mundane into the miraculous. It is what transforms a simple breath into a holy return. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was not offering a metaphor. He was offering a map. When the Buddha pointed to the emptiness behind the self, he was not suggesting nihilism. He was revealing the doorway to truth. When Rumi wrote, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" he was not being poetic. He was reminding you of your nature. You have wings. They are made not of feathers, but of freedom. They're not seen with the eyes, but felt in the heart. And they lift you not into the sky, but into the now. For the now is the only place remembrance can occur. The now is the temple. The now is the altar. The now is the sacred space where eternity touches time. You cannot awaken in yesterday. You cannot awaken in tomorrow. You can only awaken here, in this breath. So breathe. Let this moment be enough. Let it be the teacher. Let it be the mirror that shows you your true face, not the face of the persona, not the mask of identity, but the face of the form. When you rest in the now, you meet yourself, not the self shaped by others, but the self shaped by the divine. And that self needs nothing. It is not improved by praise, nor diminished by criticism. It is not elevated by achievement, nor degraded by loss. It simply is. As the Tao says, the way that can be named is not the eternal way. So too, the self that can be defined is not the eternal self. You are not a definition. You are a mystery, a sacred unfolding, a living paradox, both human and holy, both matter and spirit, both here and eternal. And the more you align with that mystery, the more your life becomes a reflection of it. You begin to live not from effort, but from flow, not from force, but from faith, not from fear, but from knowing. And in that knowing, life becomes miraculous again. Because you are no longer trying to control it, you are dancing with it. You are no longer resisting what is, you are embracing it. You are no longer asking, what do I need to do to be loved? But rather, how can I be what I already am, love itself? For love is not something you give or get, it is something you are. And when you live as love, you heal everything you touch, not by trying to heal it, but by being the presence in which healing naturally happens. There is no method more powerful than present. There is no medicine more potent than truth. And there is no truth more liberating than this. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not the version of you the world applauds. Not the version of you that wins the race. But the version of you that sits in silence and feels the heartbeat of the cosmos in your chest. That version is the real you. And it has never been lost, only waiting. And now it waits no more. And so we walk deeper now, not with footsteps, but with awareness. Each breath, an entry into a sacred remembrance that cannot be taught, only unveiled. It is not the mind that leads you here, but the surrender of needing to be led. For the soul does not travel forward, it descends inward, like water finding the lowest, most honest place to rest. And in that resting, all that is false begins to fall away, not in a blaze, but in a quiet relinquishing. The old roles, the weary narratives, the grasping for identity, all dissolving like fog before the morning Sunday. The light that dawns in you now is not new. It is not an awakening in the sense of beginning, but in the sense of unveiling. You are unveiling yourself to yourself, one tender layer at a time, and there is no rush here. The infinite does not hurry, does not operate on clocks or calendars. It pulses in rhythm with the eternal, not the urgent. Your journey is sacred not because of where it leads, but because of what it reveals along the way, that you have always been whole, even in your forgetting. Let your healing be gentle. Let it be slow, like the thawing of frost under the touch of spring. There is no need to tear away the veils with force. They fall of their own accord when the light becomes too honest to be denied. Trust this unfolding. Trust the intelligence that breathes galaxies and flowers in your very lungs. It did not make a mistake in you. You are not an error to be corrected. You are a miracle to be remembered. And in that remembering, you begin to see the world anew, not through the filters of fear, but through the lens of presence. The same world, yes, but now lit from within by the awareness that what you see is not separate from what you are. The tree is no longer just a tree. It is your stillness mirrored in form. The stranger's eyes are no longer far, and they are the reflection of your own essence gazing back. The breeze that touches your face is not an accident of nature. It is the breath of the beloved, caressing you into wakefulness. To live like this is not to escape the world, it is to sanctify it. It is to walk as one who carries the remembrance of truth through the marketplace, the hospital, the kitchen, the silence of heartbreak, and the music of laughter. You become a living prayer, not spoken, but embodied, not declared, but radiated. This is not about perfection. This is about authenticity. And authenticity is the most sacred offering you can give to life. For the world does not need more noise. It needs more stillness. It does not need more performance. It needs more presence. And presence is what you offer when you are no longer performing for approval. When you no longer need to be seen to know you are real. When you no longer need to be understood to feel understood. You begin to rest in yourself as yourself. And that rest is the foundation of true power. Not the power to dominate or convince, but the power to remain centered in a world that pulls. The power to choose stillness over reaction, compassion over control, trust over tension. This is the quiet revolution of the soul, the turning inward, the softening of resistance, the remembering of essence. And you will forget again. Of course you will. This is not a fault, it is part of the dance. The forgetting deepens the joy of remembering. Each return is richer than the last. Each moment of awakening carries the fragrance of all the times you wandered and came home. So do not curse the times you drift. Bless them. They are the currents that bring you back to shore with wiser eyes and a more open heart. The ego will not disappear in an instant. It will return with its stories, its demands, its defenses, but you will greet it differently now. You will see it not as the enemy, but as the child it always was, afraid, unsure, yearning for love in all the wrong places. And instead of banishing it, you will cradle it. You will say, it's okay, you can rest now, we are already whole. And in that act of inner compassion, the ego begins to relax. It no longer needs to be in charge. It no longer needs to guard the fortress of identity, because you are no longer guarding anything. You are open, vulnerable, real. And in that realness, the fortress becomes a temple. The walls fall, and the light gets in. This is the temple you carry with you now, the temple of the present moment, sanctified by your willingness to be, to feel, to listen, to not have all the answers, but to live the questions with grace. And as you live those questions, life answers in ways the mind could never orchestrate. Not always in words, but in synchronicities, in gentle nudges, in doors that open when you stop pushing. When you align with who you truly are, the universe no longer needs to shout at whispers, and you hear. This is the return, not to some grand revelation, but to the simplicity of what always was. You are not here to become a spiritual being. You are here to stop pretending that you are anything else. You are here to remember who you truly are. And as you remember, something shifts not just within you, but all around you. Life responds not to your effort, but to your essence. You begin to notice that doors open, not when you demand them to, but when your being is aligned with their opening. The people who drift into your orbit come not because you sought them, but because your light called to them in a language that needs no words. Circumstances rearrange themselves, not because you manipulated them, but because you surrendered your grip on control and returned to the harmony of trust. This trust is not fragile. It does not falter in the face of uncertainty. It does not need the approval of logic. It is ancient. It is the trust of the stars as they move across the heavens without maps. It is the trust of the sea that lies in darkness, believing in the sun it has never seen. It is the trust of the wave, surrendering to the shore, knowing it belongs to the ocean, even in separation. And this is your trust now. Not because you understand all things, but because you finally understand that understanding is not the requirement, presence is. There is a holiness and simplicity that the mind often overlooks. It searches for fireworks, for signs in the sky, for voices from on high. But the soul speaks in the subtle, in the still, in the quiet spaces between thoughts where a deeper knowing resides. That knowing does not come as a conclusion. It arrives as a recognition. It is not shouted. It is felt. Like the way sunlight warms your skin without explanation. Like the way love wraps around your chest when words fall short. It is the knowing that says, I am already home. This home is not a place, but a presence. Not a destination, but a dimension of awareness. And you carry it with you wherever you go. In the hospital, in the heartbreak, in the laughter that erupts unexpectedly, in the silence that holds you when the world does not. This is the sacred soil of remembrance. You begin to plant your life in this soil, not in the shallow grounds of approval, but in the fertile depth of authenticity. And from here, everything begins to grow differently. You speak not to persuade, but to reveal. You listen not to respond, but to receive. You act not to prove, but to express. And in that expression, your life becomes a living scripture, each moment a verse, each breath a testament, each step a prayer. This is not metaphor. This is the reality of a life lived from soul. The soul does not care for resumes. It does not measure worth in likes or accolades. It does not ask for improvement. It asks for intimacy. Intimacy with truth. Intimacy with presence. Intimacy with the self beneath the self. And this intimacy transforms everything it touches. It transforms how you look at your reflection, not with judgment, but with reverence. It transforms how you greet your emotions, not with resistance, but with compassion. It transforms how you relate to others, not from need or fear, but from fullness. You become a sanctuary, not perfect, but pure, not unshaken, but grounded. A place where others can feel the invitation to come home to themselves simply by being in your presence. This is how the soul speaks without a voice, yet unmistakably. This is how the soul teaches without instruction, yet undeniably. This is how the soul heals, not through strategy, but through surrender. And as you continue to surrender layer after layer, you realize that your task here was never to accumulate identities, but to peel them back. Never to construct the perfect persona, but to allow the radiant essence beneath it all to shine through unfiltered. To be nothing more than what you are, and to know without doubt that this is everything. You are here to remember who you truly are. Not once, not twice, but in every breath, in every fall, in every rising. In every moment when the world forgets and you remember again, not with anger, but with grace. Not with resistance, but with a gentle smile that says, "Ah, yes, I wandered again, and now I return." And in that return, you come bearing gifts not for the world to admire, but for the soul to rejoice. The gift of presence, the gift of peace, the gift of a life lived not in fear of death, but in celebration of being. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are not the identity that fears collapse. You are the awareness that watches all things rise and fall, knowing nothing is ever truly lost. The world may call this awakening. The soul calls it remembering. And you are here for this. To remember, and in remembering, to become the living embodiment of the truth that was never missing, only veiled. Now, the veil lifts. Now, you are light. And as that light rises in you, not as a flicker, but as a steady flame, you no longer question whether you are enough. You feel it, you embody it, not in arrogance, but in holy remembrance. For the light does not compare itself to other lights, it simply shines. The sun does not look at the stars and wonder if it is worthy to rise. It knows that its existence is the offering, and so is yours. You no longer need the world to reflect your value, because your value is no longer in question. You do not seek validation in the mirror of others' eyes. You carry your mirror within. And when you gaze into that sacred reflection, you see not perfection, but presence. Not achievement, but essence. Not the narrative you were given, but the truth that has always been yours. I am. That is the most complete sentence in the language of the soul. I am. Not I am this or I am that. Just I am. Full stop. Complete. Whole. And from that wholeness, everything changes. Because now you create not from lack, but from overflow. You love not to fill a void, but to share a fullness. You serve not to be significant, but because your significance is already settled. You no longer seek to be seen. You have already been seen by the source that made you, and that seeing is enough. That recognition, the gaze of the divine upon your being, is the only validation you ever needed. It whispered you into existence not as a mistake, not as an experiment, but as a unique and irreplaceable expression of itself. You are not a separate entity trying to get back to God. You are God in expression, temporarily clothed in form to remember its own reflection in the dance of life. Yes, there is pain, but even pain becomes sacred when held in the light of this remembrance. For pain, when honored rather than resisted, becomes a portal. It opens the heart. It deepens the presence. It softens the edges of identity until all that remains is love, not the kind you trade, but the kind you are. And so your tears too are holy. They are not signs of weakness, they are signs of surrender. They are the body's way of saying, I'm ready to let go of who I thought I needed to be, to let go of the stories that no longer serve, to let go of the resistance to what already is. You begin to bless even what once broke you, not because it was good, but because it brought you here, because it stripped away the inauthentic, because it cracked the shell of ego just enough for the light to seep in. And in that light, everything once feared is seen differently. The betrayals, the losses, the unanswered prayers. They were not punishments. They were catalysts. They were sacred winds guiding you, however roughly, back to your center. And this is where you now live. In the center, not in the extremes of fear and fantasy, but in the grounded present truth of now. The mind may still speak, but you no longer follow every thought. The past may still echo, but you no longer mistake it for who you are. The future may still beckon, but you no longer need to rush toward it. You are here, and here is holy. Here is enough. Here is where the veil is thin, and the truth is thick, and the presence is palpable. You realize now that the path has never been linear. It has spiraled through shadows and light, through forgetting and remembering, through birth and rebirth, and everything in between. But the destination was never the point. The point was the deepening, the becoming aware of what never left you. And now you feel it, the unnameable, unshakable, unmoving truth at the center of your being. It does not speak in fear. It does not demand attention. It does not require you to earn it. It only asks that you notice who is noticing, that you become the witness rather than the storm, that you rest in the awareness rather than the reaction. And from that rest, something ancient awakens, a softness, a strength, a stillness that cannot be disturbed by noise, because it is not made of sound. It is made of source, of the breath that breathes the breath, of the silence that listens to the silence. This is who you are. This is who you have always been. Not someone striving to be spiritual, but spirit itself, remembering its own reflection in the mirror of life. So take this moment, not to change, but to return, not to achieve, but to arrive, not to strive, but to sink deeper into being, deeper into truth, deeper into the remembrance that you were never lost. You are here to remember who you truly are, and who you are is already free. So now, as the path narrows into clarity and the journey gathers into stillness, let this final turning be not an ending, but a return, a sacred re-entry into the home that has always lived within you. You have not wandered in vain. You have not wept without purpose. Every step, every sigh, every sacred ache has led you here. And here is where the forgetting ends. Because when you no longer seek to be anything other than what you are, you become a vessel for the infinite to move through, to speak through, to love through. The trees do not wonder how to grow. The moon does not ask for permission to rise. The river does not need to understand the ocean before it flows. And neither do you. The remembering is not something you perform, it is something you allow. Allow yourself to be enough. Allow yourself to be held. Allow yourself to be seen by the only eyes that matter, the eyes of your own awakened soul. And in that gaze, may every unkind word melt. May every mask fall. May every conditioned belief dissolve like mist in the morning sunday. You are not here to argue with life. You are here to merge with it, to see that what you once called me was only a temporary shape, but the essence behind it all, that stillness, that presence, that quiet hum beneath the noise that is you, that has always been you, and that you has never needed fixing. It has only waited patiently through the noise and the striving and the ache for your return. Not because it lacked, but because it loved. Because it knew that the longing in your chest was not a sign of something missing. It was the song of something holy calling you back. The voice of the soul is never gone, it is only quiet. And now, in this sacred stillness, you hear it again. Not with your ears, but with your being. It is not loud. It is not forceful. But it is unmistakable. It says, you were never lost. You were only dreaming you were something smaller. You were never broken. You were only learning how to see through love's eyes. You were never alone. You were always being carried by the breath of God. And now, beloved soul, you are no longer asleep. You are awake not in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of the eternal. And once you are awake, nothing can be as it was. Because you see now with the vision of truth, you touch the world with reverence, you meet each moment not with judgment, but with awe. This is what it means to remember. To wake up not as a new self, but as your original essence, unmasked, unburdened, unafraid. To live not in resistance to what is, but in communion with it. To walk through the fire of life and realize that you were the flame all along. To bless the path behind you, not because it was easy, but because it brought you here. And here is enough. So breathe, stand still. Feel the ground beneath your feet. It has always known your name. Feel the pulse in your chest. It has always whispered truth. And feel this moment, whole and vast and sacred. It has always been waiting for your full attention. You are not late. You are not wrong. You are not unfinished. You are simply here. And here is holy. You are not who the world told you to be. You are who you have always been beneath the forgetting. And now you remember. You remember not just with your thoughts, but with your being. You remember in your stillness, in your softness, in your trust. You remember in the quiet yes that rises from your soul when you no longer resist what is. You remember in the lightness of a heart no longer trying to prove itself. And that remembering, that sacred, timeless, boundless remembering, is why you came. You are here to remember who you truly are. And who you truly are is the remembrance itself. The light behind the form, the silence behind the voice, the eternal presence wrapped in human breath. You are the love you thought was elsewhere. You are the peace you tried to find. You are the truth that was waiting to be seen. You are the presence that needs no story. You are the soul awake at last. And this is home, not a place, not a state, but the knowing that you were never anything less than divine. And now, you are free.